Okay, and we're going. So thank
Cool.
you everybody for signing on today. Um, we're gonna start just by talking about what everybody did for the assignments and how it's going. So I was just telling Stetson that I just read the assignment last night, and so I just started it. I haven't given any of the thank you notes out, but I started writing one, and yeah, I'm excited about it. What about you guys? What have you done?
So likewise, I opened it up last night. I checked it out Sunday and saw that we didn't have a case study, and I was like, holla, wait till I do it. So yeah, I looked at it last night as well, and I was like, oh, well, I don't really have time to give all these out, but I wrote some letters and had thought about some things that I had thought of, and I actually chose um, three different people that I've helped um, or that has helped me within the past week, and some things that I could do to think of them. And so I kind of reflected on the fact that I already have thanked them like a lot through like vocally, but then with the notes that I can then give them to just re-emphasize that gratitude and kind of see how that'll go. The three people that I picked, one of them was a coworker of mine. Last week, uh, I had to take an exam, and I was not very prepared for it. And when I went to take it, the password at the testing center was wrong. And so it was just like, oh crap, now I can't take it tonight. So I got a hold of a coworker, and he said he would switch me shifts, even though his shift was like 4 hours long and mine was like an 8 hour long shift the next day. And he still was willing to switch me so that I could have a little bit extra time to study, but also so that I could actually take it because I couldn't take it um, in the testing center that day. And so I was extremely grateful for that. And I ended up doing really well on the exam. And so I actually went in to work. Uh, let's see, it would have been the next day. Yeah, I went in like the next day and into work when I was not supposed to work. And he was there. And I just thanked him over and over again. I ended up getting the highest test score in that class, and the average was a 61. So I was like really happy about that. So I couldn't thank him enough, and I just overly appreciate it. I guess in the readings it would have been like the intensity, because I was so grateful that he covered that shift for me, and I was very appreciative of that. The other person that I picked um, is my father. He is a jack of all trades. He's the wisest person I know. It is crazy, but he is very knowledgeable when it comes to vehicles. And so whenever I have car troubles, I call him, and usually he can walk me through what's wrong and guess what's wrong without even seeing it. And then I can just go and fix it, which has been really helpful. And my car let's see, actually this would have been like almost 2 weeks ago, but my car broke down. I had a long story short, the fan on the engine for the radiator broke. The fan, motor fan, blew, and so I was really stressed out about that and traveling and everything. And I took it to a shop here in town, and I never take my car to the shop, so it was pretty rare. I was just kind of really worried about it because I had to work that evening, and so I ran it to the car shop, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we can get it fixed tomorrow." And I was like, "Ah, crap!" And then he kind of we talked about it, some things, and I had set up an appointment. And then I called my dad after the fact just to kind of get his opinion. And he shared some insights with me and told me that because of the temperature and the way I would, the drive distance that I'd be driving, my car would be fine to drive um, to go to work and back. And gave me some tips and some pointers, things to look for. And then I ended up deciding to buy it, to just fix it by myself and order the parts online and fix it myself. And it cost me like a third of the price. So that was really awesome. And so I expressed my gratitude towards that. And then in the past 2 weeks, because of that, I've noticed he's called me quite a few times just to see how the car's doing, to see how I'm doing. I recently got a dog, and so he's called to see how he's doing, and he's just so much more willing to help. I've noticed that it's a repetitive thing. I'll go a while, a couple weeks without really talking to my dad or anything like that. But every time I have an issue, I give him a call, and he's always willing to help. Sometimes to even drive the hour distance. It's I guess only an hour, but it's still an hour away in the middle of the night to come and help with a vehicle problem or something like that. And so he's just always been there for me. And so I've noticed that whenever something like that does happen, for a period of time after that, he tends to call to check in on me more regularly, which is always really appreciative of that. And so I chose him to talk about that, just because I've noticed some of the side effects that I guess in the readings it kind of talks about. People, once you express gratitude, or when people express gratitude towards you, you seem more willing to help and more, pushed to do more. And then the third one, I guess that one I chose to do to my apartment because I have 5 roommates, and they were all super pumped for me to get a dog, and they've been really helpful the past week. Um, when I have to go to work, they do an awesome job of taking him out and playing with him and that sort of thing. And so he doesn't have to be in his kennel for long periods of time. And so I've just been really appreciative of that. So I thought that would be a good example of, I wanted to do it individually, but also on more of that like density level as well. So
Good.
yeah, that's my.
So I did mine. So I chose one of my neighbors, just because it's always nice to have a neighbor that you can depend on for anything and everything. And I thank them profusely all the time, but it was just nice to be able to write a note to them and explain to them how much I appreciate everything that they've done. Our kids are all the same ages, and so it's actually been really nice because I can get a lot of homework done when my kids are at home because they're outside playing with the neighbor kids. And so it's really helped me out with school and being able to get all that stuff done. And then I also wrote a note to a friend that's just there all the time for anything that comes up or anything that I need. And I don't know. I mean, it's just nice to be able to say thank you to these people that, I mean, you always say thank you, like Stetson said, as things happen. But it's nice to just something out of the blue and be able to show them even more so how appreciative you are for what they've done. And then my third one was to our home teacher / now minister. He's been our home teacher for years and years. So he actually, our bishopric was just redone on Sunday, and he got put in the bishopric. And so we're expecting a change now because I'm sure he'll be put over someone else that actually needs more help, but because that's usually how it works. But just to thank him for what he's done, because my kids love him, and he always takes the time to prepare lessons that apply to the kids and, keep their interest. And he checks on us all the time, and they know who he is and know that they can go to him if they have any questions or need anything. And so that was kind of fun to be able to do. And he was actually at bishopric meeting when we dropped it off. So we just left it there, and then he sent a message last night to my husband saying, hey, that was so nice of you guys to do that, and just very appreciative of it. So it's been a good experience, and it's been fun to do.
That's sweet. I didn't mention the people that I was planning on sending them to, but I just wrote one to my mother-in-law, because like when I think of people I'm grateful, she's like the first person that comes to my mind. Because we live with them right now. We're in their basement apartment, and like they're giving us this nice place to live. She let me paint the wall yellow, which is crazy. Most people don't do that. And And, like, they give us everything we need. We went out of town this weekend, and she, like, helped us pay for hotels and stuff, and she helped with the wedding, and she, like, never asked for anything in return, and I always say thank you, and I try to be really expressive with my gratitude, but it just never feels like enough for everything she's done. So I'm excited to give that one to her. I'm actually shy about it. I might just, like, slip it under her door or something. Like, I might feel awkward, like, "Here."
Uh-huh.
The other person I thought of, just while you guys were talking, and I'm gonna write one too, was when we were out of town. We went from Kansas to South Carolina, which is a long drive, because that's where my husband grew up. And so we went to his friend's wedding, and we went to go meet some of his friends. And we stayed at his best friend's parents' house, and they were so good to us. They, like, made us a little room up, and they made us breakfast and dinner all the days we were there, and we ended up having to stay longer because we were having car problems, and they were totally chill about it, just kept feeding us, and so I was gonna write them a letter because that was really sweet and accommodating. And I don't know who the third person's gonna be, but I don't know. There's lots of people who bless my life, so I don't think it'll be too hard to think of someone.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we've shared that, the first question is, what did it feel like to extend gratitude towards the 3 people you thanked?
I love it. I think it's super cool. It in the readings it talks about it, and just those warm feelings. You just feel good inside, and it kind of just makes you happier for some reason. Like, it's that the principle of, like, fake it till you make it. How, like, the more you smile, the happier you be, even though you don't know why. It's similar to that. Like, when I express gratitude for something, there's just something inside that, I don't know, chemicals. I don't remember all the science behind it, but just stuff happens, and you just feel good, and I think it creates bonds, and I think it creates memories, and memories are powerful to look back on. So
Yeah, I agree. So one thing that, I don't know, I was in a meeting. It was a stake women's conference, and it was a while ago, probably maybe like 10 years ago or something. But I remember the speaker that got up there, and they said something about always showing gratitude. And even if you aren't in contact with the person now, let them know what they've done for you. And so this is actually something I felt really confident doing and really comfortable doing, because I do it quite a bit. And so I've had that experience because, so for instance, I was called to be put in the Relief Society secretary when our ward split years ago. And when I was put in that position, I've never served in that type of position before, and it made me nervous. So the first thing I started doing was thinking about someone that had been in that position that I thought did a really good job. And so immediately someone came to mind, and when it did, it showed me how I should proceed in my calling, and it really helped me to know what to do. And I thought, you know what? I bet this person has no idea that people know how effective she was in her calling. So I wrote her a thank you note. Out of the blue, I'm still not in contact with her. She was in a different ward at this point in time, and I found her address and mailed it to her. And I ran into her probably a year after I had written that note. And the first thing she said to me was, "That note you wrote me made a huge difference." And I thought, for that to be the very first thing she said to me, it really did make a difference, because otherwise it would have just been something that she brushed off and didn't really care about. But that was the first thing she said to me after a year of not having seen her, been in contact with her after I'd written this note, showed me how big of an impact gratitude can make on someone's life. By just saying thank you, you did a great job of your calling, and showed me how I should do mine at this point in time. So I don't know, I've kept that up, and I do that regularly. If something comes to mind, I just do it, even if there's not a reason. Like this time there was, because it was an assignment. But I think that if you have that thought, you just go forward with it and do it, and show people how much gratitude you have for them, for the little things that they don't even think are important at that time.
Yeah. I got a thank you card last night when we got in. It was on the table. And I have an online business. I sell like clothes and jewelry and cute stuff. And a friend that I knew from my mission ordered something to send to her little sister who's on a mission. And I got a thank you note from the little sister that said like, "Hey, thank you for sending me the shirt that my sister ordered from you." She said, "It's so cute. It made me feel so fabulous, and the packaging was so nice." And she was just saying that it was like nice to receive something cute and pretty for her in a time in your life where you're not really focused on you, and it's kind of like an unglamorous time of life. And it wasn't like a huge selfless act I did. I mean, I got paid to do it, but like I don't know, it really reaffirmed like that like I love what I'm doing, and it really did. It made a big difference, and it probably wasn't a big deal for her. I mean, she's a missionary, she writes notes to people, but I was like, it definitely goes along with what we're talking about, how it can definitely like increase your happiness, not only for the person who's like receiving recognition for what they've done, but also for the person giving it. Like it works both ways, and that's so beautiful. And that's why, like in all the conferences, we're told to be grateful is because it's edifying for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Okay, the next question says, oh no, I lost it. No, I didn't. It's right here. It says, how did they feel and what was their reaction towards you?
So I'll go ahead and answer since I already did mine. They were all grateful. Like they were surprised that out of the blue, they had gotten this note and this treat. I just made a treat for them too and took it with it. And they were surprised, but grateful. And I mean, like we've been talking about, they just felt important because, randomly they get this little treat and thank you note for something that they've done that they don't even think twice about or, whatever. They appreciated it.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't sent mine, so I don't know. I'll be happy. I was happy when I received mine.
Mm-hmm. I mean, generally, guys are not as caring about the specific, like, handwritten notes and whatnot, but I definitely have received handwritten thank you notes before, and thought it was really really touching to me, and so it will be interesting. The coworker of mine that I work with, he's kind of a rough around the edges kind of guy, and he's younger. He's a little bit fresh out of high school, in the National Guard, tattooed, all that good stuff. So it'll be interesting. I think the way I express it when I was just really grateful for him, when I was just was publicly thanking him over and over again, and expressing my gratitude, and just to see the smile on his face, it let me know that he didn't regret doing it, and that I think he would be willing to do it again in the future, just because I really truly felt grateful for his sacrifice and for doing that, and so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things go, but yeah, it is interesting to see people's reactions as well, though, because he reacted very very positively, and I don't think that he anticipated my actions of gratitude to the degree that it was taken. So, yeah, anyway, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the role of gratitude in organizations?
I think it really amplifies effectiveness. I think I've said this before, but I work at Cabela's. I sell binoculars and knives and all sorts of things. And a big thing that we're asked to do is to talk to customers about our credit card and sell people on credit cards, because they get all of these awesome perks if they have the credit cards, and also the company tracks how many people apply and get accepted for it each day, and it's something they track and they make goals for, set goals, and really focus on that, and as well as revenue and all of these other things. And I've noticed a trend that sometimes when our numbers are down on people that have been applying for a day or a week's time, sometimes they will do incentives and 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 thank people out of the blue, and for getting applications after long periods of times, and and that has really increased people that actually talk, and increases how much we interact with the customers on a different level when we are more focused on caring. But I know last week um, I guess it had been a long day, and they hadn't. It was like 6 o'clock at night, and nobody had gotten what we call a referral, where somebody goes up and applies for the credit card, and I got somebody to do it, and so just because of that, the manager that was over that division that day just openly thanked me on the little walkie-talkies that we have, and just kind of publicly praised me, and then told me to come up and get a something special. And so I went up there, and she like gave me this Yeti cup cooler that's like $30, and was like, "Yeah, go you." And I was just like, "What? That was so cool." And so then I like went back out on the floor, and all of a sudden I was just like talking to everyone, and like just so much more willing to help and to talk to every customer that walked by. And it was just because she thanked me. And yeah, I think part of it was because I got a little cooler out of it, which was sweet. But it really was just the praise and the thanking, and it made me feel good that I was doing my job. And so I think I particularly in this job in this job I have noticed the importance of gratitude in organization, that each month they have an employee of the month, and they offer really amazing benefits for that. And on top of that, they have what's called star employees that managers can pick, that are not quite employee of the months, but they still take them out to lunch, and just spend more quality one-on-one time by paying to take them out to lunch and just talking, getting to know them. And so it's just been very interesting to me. Of all of the jobs that I've had in my life, this one is so much more different when it comes to praising and thanking the employees. And I definitely can tell a difference in my work ethic, I guess, my desire to do better each day that I'm there, when I'm thanked for the little things that I do.
Yeah, I agree. I think it makes a better work environment if people are grateful to each other, because if you're grateful and you're showing that, then you're going to be more kind. You're not going to be arguing, things like that, because that's not going to stick around when you have this attitude of gratitude that you're dealing with in your work environment. And so I think it really helps the company become a better place to work, just because of that environment. If people are actually grateful and thanking each other and working together to make things happen, then it's just going to be a better place for everyone involved, and have that spirit around them of happiness, and really striving to work together and helping the team work.
Yeah. I definitely think it helps, like, with morale and keeping people, like, retention, employee retention, because people feel more fulfilled and better about what they're doing if they feel like they're valued. And obviously, if you're paying someone to do a job, you value them. It's just sometimes expressing it in other ways besides a paycheck that makes the difference. And actually, this question made me think of not a job, but a calling I had when I had just returned from my mission. My parents were stationed in Italy, and so our ward was half like American military members and half Italians, which was tricky. But I got called to be the nursery secretary and a primary secretary and nursery leader, which was a big job, especially because in nursery there were, I don't know, not many kids. There were probably like 7, but half of them spoke English and the other half spoke Italian. And I spoke Spanish and I was working on Italian. It wasn't awesome. So, and then I had to do all the secretary jobs, like printing out like the little agendas for each Sunday and asking kids to give talks and share scriptures. And I wasn't even in the primary to ask the kids. I had to like chase them around after church. And it would have been, I mean, it was a hard job, but it would have been awful. I wouldn't have gone to church if I didn't know how much the primary presidency and the parents valued what I was doing. Because, I mean, there also was some Spanish-speaking kids in the ward. So I really was the only person who could be in there, like, with 3 languages. And before me, there wasn't a nursery leader, so the moms had to take the babies into Relief Society, which is rough when there's 7 of them. And people come with their kids and say thanks. And it probably didn't seem like a big deal, but like if they hadn't, I would have kept doing it, but it would have been a lot harder. Like it was good to know that I was like fulfilling a need and to be reminded of that constantly.
Cool.
I think the last person to answer the question. Okay, have you seen? Yeah, okay, so we kind of shared this, but if anybody has anything else to say on this question, it says, have you seen examples of how it increases effectiveness? That is gratitude in organizations.
Oh, yeah. I did. Yeah, I shared about that with my job. There's so much of it.
Yeah. I used to work at a place called Bahama Bucks. It's like a snow cone place. It's really good. Mm-hmm. But they had some small incentives for things. But what really pumped me up and got me going was tips, because it was just like a casual, friendly place, and we were like encouraged to like be chill with the customers and like play and joke with them and everything. And people would tip us so nicely sometimes, just because it was like a small treat. You know, they felt more inclined to tip bigger. But I don't know, like that's like how people express their gratitude, was like through tipping, and it totally increased my effectiveness and the people around us, because obviously we wanted money, but like just knowing like we were doing a good job, because we would get paid even if we didn't get tipped. But if we got tipped, it was like, it's like because people liked us and they appreciated us, and so that was definitely motivating and made us probably work a little faster and a little happier and more energetic. So that wasn't from like within the organization, but from customers.
That's cool. I've never worked at a job that really had a big like tipping thing. I don't know. So it's very interesting, but that totally makes sense, and I've never really thought of that before. It definitely makes me want to be a better tipper.
Yeah, tip your servers. Any other thoughts on that? On how gratitude increases effectiveness?
I've got nothing.
Yeah, I think we covered it nicely. Okay, what are barriers to expressing gratitude?
I think sometimes you can just be nervous about how the person's going to respond by, you know, being thanked, because some people don't appreciate it. Some people don't like to be in the spotlight. And some people really don't want that thank you. And so I think sometimes that makes you a little nervous. And I don't know, coming from someone who doesn't like being in the spotlight, and I don't like having that. It makes me nervous to give it to people because I don't want them to feel, you know, in a negative way for something that I'm trying to show gratitude for. But I think that you just have to overcome that because in the end, it's not going to be taken wrongly. I mean, it's always going to be a good thing. And so I think just that nervousness, you need to get over it and just do it and, show your gratitude.
Yeah. And my nervousness for giving out my card to my mother-in-law, I don't think it's so much like worried about how she'll take it because I think she'll be happy about it. It's just a note. I think it's pride because I have to like admit that I need her and that I'm depending on her. And like in my mind that's fine to do, but actually like walking up to her and doing it makes me nervous. It's like you have to be kind of humble to express gratitude.
I think that's a good point, Victoria. It's true.
That's true. That's true. That's funny.
Yeah, so that I mean, like relating that back to organizations, that could be hard for like somebody in a position of leadership to admit their dependence on the people who they're supervising. That could be a barrier.
Mm-hmm. For me, I love thanking people, and my biggest barrier for expressing gratitude, I think a lot of it sometimes is pride. That definitely is a big one. But I think my largest barrier is my own insecurity, because I think one of my biggest challenges, one of the biggest things that I have a hard time doing is remembering people's names. I can meet the same person like 10 times and not remember their name. And it is so embarrassing that I feel effective gratitude is expressing somebody and calling them by name, making it personal, personalizing a thank you. And because I am so bad with names sometimes, I will second guess, like, wait, that's Steve, right? Oh man, I don't want to call him Steve and it be John, so I'm just not even gonna say thank you. It's just I'll be like, thanks, and like walk away, and then it's not really a super it's not really expressing gratitude in the level that I would like to, because I'm insecure about making it personal. And so I think that for me, that's my biggest barrier.
That makes sense. Okay, so the next question and the last question. So like, get ready to talk for a long time about this. Is how do we overcome these barriers? Think about it. Take your time. Meditate. We need math.
I mean, there's always that easy answer, like pray and ask for strength to overcome your weaknesses or barriers. That's a good answer, obvious answer, I think. Not quite the full picture. I think for me, I just need to overcome my barrier. I have to. I think that comes from being humble. I need to be more humble, and I guess just get over the fact that sometimes I will get people's names wrong. But I think if I still express gratitude, they'll still receive it at least semi decently. And that
motivate you to remember their names if you mess them up a lot.
right, it's true. It is. That's true. The more I get somebody's name wrong, the quicker I learn it. And so that's kind of the biggest thing for me. It's overcoming the actual barrier of my weakness rather than like a barrier of expressing gratitude. I think that's the biggest thing. So I have to focus on being more, I don't know, I guess being less perfect, caring less about being perfect, and understand that most people generally understand that you're not going to remember their name the first time you meet them. It's not it's not a super common thing, but that's just not my strength. So I think you just have to be humble enough to just do it and express gratitude in other ways if possible, and find different ways to make it personal, and to just find confidence in myself to be able to remember their names, I guess, remember people and circumstances.
If you want to know a trick, I'm really good at remembering names. And one of the things I do is when I meet somebody, I repeat their name back to them. Like if they're like, "Hi, I'm Stetson," I'm like, "Hey, Stetson, it's nice to meet you." And if there's like more conversation, I'll repeat it like 2 or 3 more times. And most people don't like notice or think it's weird, but then you've like said it while you're looking at them.
Yeah, I've heard that works. Implementing it is not something I'm super good at, but thank you for that. I'm gonna try that this week. I'm going to focus on that.
I think for overcoming my barrier and maybe most barriers is just like just do it. Like if I just force myself to do it, even though it's uncomfortable, I'm gonna build these experiences of formally expressing gratitude. So then I don't like have to force myself to do it anymore. If I can just like give the little push, the like 10 seconds that it takes to decide to go up to somebody and hand them a note or look them in the eyes and say thank you, then eventually that's just going to become a habit and become a part of who I am, and it's not going to be like a weird thing anymore.
I agree. I was going to say action, because I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you are. Because I know shortly after I sat in that conference that day and they told us that we needed to start, looking for ways to be grateful, it was hard for me to write those initial first notes and be like, hey, I'm probably the weirdo and you're going to look at me that way because I'm thanking you for something totally out of the blue. But the more you do it and the more you see people's reactions and their appreciativeness of it, the more you feel comfortable doing it. And then it becomes second nature, where you just think, oh, yeah, they did that. Let me send them a note, or let me go drop something off to them. Let them know that I appreciate them. And I think it gets easier no matter what the barrier is, whether it's not remembering names, whether it's being humble, whether it's, just thinking they're going to think you're weird or whatever. But I think it becomes easier. The more you do it, the easier it is. Just like anything. I mean, practice makes perfect, right? And I think it's the same way. When you're looking for ways to be grateful to others, they're going to come to your mind more easily. And you're just going to be finding that, oh, there are so many things to be grateful for. And then you just start expressing it to everyone that you see and people that do things for you.
Yeah. I didn't send out my messages or my note cards or whatever yet. But something that the readings and everything did inspire me to do is break out my old grateful journal, which my cousin gave me once, and it's just got like lines for every day so you can make lists. And so I just like wrote my list for today, and it's not like expressing gratitude to anybody, but it definitely does help. It forces me to think about it every day. And then I'm feeling like, yeah, that is a big deal. Like today I wrote laundry machines because we had so much laundry to do after our trip, and on my mission we didn't have laundry machines and I had to do it all by hand, and I was looking at it like, this would suck if I didn't have a laundry machine. So I mean, it's like things that we take for granted, and it forces me to think about it and write it down. So that was cool.
No, I think that's great, Victoria, because it helps you be more positive about everything in life, because you look at how many things you have, and even if it is a little thing like a washing machine, it becomes a huge deal when you compare it to what it could be, like you said, washing by hand.
Yeah. But it's like the talk that I think it was a talk from President Monson that was in the readings for the activity. He talked about how like there's a lot wrong with the world, but there's a lot right. Like there's marriages that succeed, and there's children who grow up and choose the right path and everything. And how he didn't say this explicitly, but like when you focus on the good gets better, and and we can focus on all the bad, horrible things that are happening in the shootings and the natural disasters. But then we're looking away from all the good things too. So we have to not be so cynical about the horrible world we live in and remember all the good things too. And that changes who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts? Finished early. It's okay. I think that's okay.
Can't think of anything. Yeah, I mean, our five-some's down to 3 today, so
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's 5 of us.
I think if we just had one more, it would have been sufficient timing. But if we had our whole group, I think that we would actually make it.
Yeah.
And have, plenty of time. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was good.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you guys for everything. It's always nice to talk to y'all. And so yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for setting up this.
Yes.
You're welcome. Increasing each other's effectiveness.
Yeah. Oh shoot.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see y'all next week.
Okay.
Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you guys. See ya.
Hey, real quick, does anybody remember, I can't seem to find the paper that I wrote on, because I had the original dates for group leaders and then, or group whatever, leader for the week. But do you guys know, do we have that written anywhere? Or do you guys have that written anywhere?
I think Madeline turned it in the first week, but
Yeah.
things changed since then.
Right.
I know Madeline's doing next week.
Okay.
And then after that, it just goes in the regular order.
Okay.
It's
So
right now, Stetson. It says you have lesson 10.
oh, did she change it? Did she? Okay.
I don't know.
Because Victoria has this week, which is lesson 7.
Mm-hmm.
And Madeline said she was going to do the next 2 because she was taking over for Jaredon.
Oh.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I think we're still on the same week.
It is the same. She just is taking that. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Cool beans.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
All right. See ya.
Hey.
All right.
See you guys.
Have a good one. See you next week.